This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
Now, prepare yourselves for a Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels special edition. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, Scoundrels, and thanks for joining us for this Scoundrels Special Edition. I'm your host, Dennis Keithly, and with me, as always, is my friend and co-host, Darth Taxus.
Hey, everybody, I'm so Resistance ready tonight.
All right.
Did I bring too much energy?
No. I think you're properly hyped.
Great.
Unfortunately, our other friend and co-host, Jay Krebs, cannot make it tonight due to a scheduling conflict, but we hope to have her back on an episode in the near future. Mm-hmm. So if you are new to Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels, you may be wondering what a Scoundrel Special Edition is. In essence, these are in-between episodes where we forego analysis of the news and focus on either a particular piece of content, experience, or something along those lines. On this episode, we are reviewing the latest episode of Resistance, the First Order Occupation. So heads up, this is a full spoiler discussion. Taxus, if you do the honors and hit that spoiler alert.
I sure will, Dennis.
Okay, now you can dial it back.
Oh.
If you're still with us, don't say we didn't warn you. So, all right, well, let's just get into it. This is, again, this episode's called The First Order Occupation. Mm-hmm. We find that the First Order is solidifying their presence on Colossus Station after the events of the past episode, Doza's Dilemma. Kaz is squarely against this and is frustrated that everybody else cannot figure out, that the First Order is up to no good.
Right.
Meanwhile, Tam has a counterpoint. She doesn't seem to mind, and she keeps pointing out, they did rescue Tor after all, and we need more security. Mm-hmm. So, and then, the third point here on the far end of the spectrum is Niku, who is completely oblivious and confused as to why Kaz isn't excited that they are there. So, I don't know about you, Taxus, but I kind of like this, the ambiguity that we've got going on here. It's the Colossus Station's out in the Outer Rim near the unknown regions where the First Order is set up, and not everyone that would be on Colossus Station would have reason to distrust them or really be all that fond of the Republic.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because how many years has it been since the Empire? It's been
20 some.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing how quickly some people can forget the past, mm-hmm. or think, well, this isn't quite like the Empire, it's a little bit different. Because let's face it, I mean, everybody was all probably has a different point of view in clone troopers than they would stormtroopers, but yet they kind of wearing the same looking armor. So maybe it's the same effect in reverse. But the townsfolk are just trying to be like, hey, welcome, thanks for protecting us, and they're like, get out of our way,
Yeah. Well, you also think maybe perhaps that the war may not have reached them out here.
Yeah.
At this point, because that this is not a key system. It's only become key now because the First Order is trying to move back into the galaxy, back into the core world.
Yep.
So
that's true.
Hey, can
I ask one question though?
Sure.
In the beginning when what's her face?
Tam, Synara.
Yes, with the super sweet large dots.
Synara.
Synara. Yes, and with dot face. That's but she she's talking to the robot, and the robot sounds kind of like a winky, like that.
Speaking of hoodies.
Yeah. And so I was thinking to myself, because she's saying everything that he's saying back to the droid, so we know what the droid's saying.
Right.
Why not just use some subtitles every now and then? Have you noticed that? I mean, we're just absent any subtitles at all.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they did use those in Return of the Jedi to a degree, but when 3PO was talking to that droid at Jabba's palace that was speaking the same way, same technique was used.
Yeah,
it was 3PO just kind of, it's a standard technique so that you don't have to use subtitles. You just kind of repeat back whatever the person's saying, as in a question, or what do you mean? I can't book a shuttle, or that type of thing, and it gets the point across, and just kind of maintains the authenticity of the of that alien language. And I suppose if it was that droid was a more important character like Jabba, who they did translate for us, then perhaps they would have done so.
Have they used subtitles at all in any of the animation that you can think of? I mean,
not that I can think of.
Wars, yeah.
Well, in the Clone Wars, Zero the Hutt, maybe did Jabba ever, or did they have someone translate for him in the episodes of Jabba? Because Zero the Hutt spoke basic.
Yes, that's it.
And so did the other Hutts on Nal Hutta when they got there.
Jabba's a purist.
Yeah, real.
Yeah.
All right.
Hutties
moving
only
on.
here, please.
Yeah, as you were saying, the stormtroopers are patrolling the station, and they are kind of just asserting their authority. They demand to see identification of the people around them, including a Rodian who's having trouble finding his, and Kaz then tries to intervene. But this kind of backfires because Kaz comes under the notice, and they're beginning to wonder if he is the spy.
Yeah, thanks to Nico.
Right. And Nico is just, he doesn't get subtlety at all.
No.
Or sarcasm, or, he has a hard time even bending the truth a little bit. But when they want to know about Kaz, and Kaz is reluctant to do so, Nico just blurts out all of his pertinent information, including where he lives, what his full name is. And
his social security number is. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And then it comes out that the First Order is looking for a pirate spy, which we find out in short order is they already know it's Synara. But the Rodian manages to find his ID before the stormtroopers can get too interested in Kaz, which allows Kaz, Tam, and Nico to slip away. So, what do you think? I mean, I think they're handling the stormtroopers well here. It's either there, as you mentioned, we got some of the residents of the station that are happy to see law and order come, but at the same time, they're being a little brutal.
Yeah, they're being complete bullies. And like you said, Kaz is getting upset because it's like, doesn't anybody see what they're like? What they're being like? And who was it that said, flash forward a little bit, but Nico does say, yes, my friend told me about how the Empire was, and this kind of reminds me
his grandmother,
of that. Yeah, his grandmother, that's right. So this kind of reminds me of that, right? So, that's, I think he, of everybody that's starting to figure it out, I think he's actually starting to figure it out, believe it or not. The simplest character in the show is the one that kind of comes around fastest. You know what I mean?
Well, perhaps a little bit, but he seems more motivated out of friendship more than anything.
Yeah.
In this episode, we'll get to those scenes in a little bit, but but there's other examples here of the First Order and overstepping their bounds. I mean, immediately we get a scene where Captain Doza is on the holocall with Commander Pyre, and he's complaining about the stormtroopers exceeding their authority and thinking that their authority exceeds Doza's.
Yeah.
But and then Pyre's he's not taking it. He simply says, hey, look, your station is in danger, and it's a good thing we're there and we're securing everything. And
right
when that call ends, I can't remember the droid's name, but she wanders up and says, Captain Doza, things have been safer. And Doza recognizes it right off the bat. It's like, yeah, but at what cost?
Yeah.
It's at the cost of our personal liberty, is what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I started wondering if he kind of, starting to put two and two together,
Well, he's been reluctant to accept their offer to begin with. And I wasn't clear from this episode that he actually ever accepted their offer. Because if you remember in the last episode, the Doza Dilemma, once the First Order rescued Torah, they just left the squad.
Yeah, right.
It's like, we're leaving them here for your security.
Here's a present.
That's not necessary. No, we insist. And so, I'm not certain that this is what Doza bargained for.
Yeah. Yes, that's a good point. And also, one other thing about the stormtroopers I liked. They, because of the information they had, I mean, Kaz ran away and they're like, hey, where'd he go? And now in other shows, we'd probably just end it there. Like, they don't know where to go look for him. But no, they show up at the doorstep. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they know where he's working. They know who he works for, and they're there. They're there to ask him questions.
Right. And this follows a conversation that Kaz was having with Yeager, which, Kaz is beside himself. He's a spy here. He's working for the Resistance, and this is where his inexperience as a spy is showing up, because he's demanding some sort of action that, he keeps telling Yeager. I loved Yeager's reaction, because they're standing in the middle of his garage. He's like, Yeager, we got to do something. And Yeager's like, oh, whoa. You can see him looking around like, oh, no one heard that. And so they go into a back room where they have a discussion. And Yeager points us like, look, they're tracing all of the transmissions. We can't just call the Resistance. We have to wait for Poe to contact us. And he kind of gets Kaz to settle down, but then, as you were saying, the First Order shows up because Niku had blurted out
Yes.
who Kaz was and where he lived. And so the stormtroopers are there and they want to know where, we've got a hologram of you that you were near the high tower at the time that Toro was abducted, and you were seen with another person that we believe to be Synara-san.
Yes.
Where is she? What's going on? And it's only when they get some sort of a tip from somebody else that they leave, but they tell Kaz in the meantime, it's like, you can't go anywhere. You stay here. We'll be back. And of course, he doesn't listen.
Right. Yeah. He goes off to do something foolish and foolhardy, but he thinks,
or courageous, depending on your point of view.
yeah, I guess, so yeah, and he goes and he finds her, right?
Yeah, so he goes to find her, and he's stumbling around trying to figure out how to approach her. Synara doesn't figure out that it's him, but then the stormtroopers see crates falling over and hear the commotion and him yelping when things fall over on his head, and so they go to investigate, but eventually he catches up to her, and we see a couple things that happen in the meantime. First, she contacts Kragan and says, hey, you got to get me out of here, and Kragan's like, what the do you want? Pardon my language, but it's you've been here for so long, why haven't you left already? The First Order betrayed us. I can't just come there, but if you get off the station, we'll come rescue you.
Right.
And then
okay, but that thing he said, the First Order betrayed us, I think Kaz saw and heard that entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised. I'm hoping he made note of that, like the First Order betrayed us. And I can't remember, did they go back and kind of show his face, like, you know what I mean? Like,
but I think that part flew over his head, because he's had this ongoing disagreement with BB-8, and he finally came around at the end of the last episode about whether Synara was on the up and up.
Right.
And so I think this is the first time that he's seen Synara communicating with Kragan. He saw her with the other two pirates in the past episode, including the one that was the same species as Zara Singh. And so he knew that she was with the pirates, or she was either working for the pirates or she was one of the pirates. But now he's had this opportunity to see with Kragan, but I'm not so certain that sank in with him.
Yeah. I hope they go back to that, though, because that would be the good way for him to kind of figure out, what the First Order's plot was.
Right. But then we get a couple more instances before Kaz actually gets up and talks to Synara. We get a couple more examples of the brutality of the First Order, because they seize that same Godel that was at the beginning of the episode saying, oh, I'm so glad you're here. Well, he's out after curfew, so they arrest him and haul him off.
Let me go.
And then the janitor, the little yellow guy, has his floor buffer confiscated. I was like, wait a minute, what could they possibly think is going on with the floor buffer?
They want to ride around on it. That's what they're going to do. They're going to take it back to their stormtrooper dorm.
And then we get like all these instances, like for the next few scenes, where you see this little guy, this little yellow guy, he's chirping at everyone, just complaining out loud because his buffer's been seized, and he's complaining. Anyone that'll listen. But then, so Kaz catches up to Synara. He sneaks up behind her, and actually the most effective sneaking we've done, and we've seen him do all season, right? And then he taps her on the shoulder. She turns around and slugs him in the face. I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed the humor of this episode. It's been one of my complaints kind of throughout this season, but I feel like lately they've been getting it right. And Synara's like, Kaz, what are you doing here? I'm so sorry.
It's kind of effortless, the humor in this episode. It wasn't like shoehorned into the middle of the story. It helped propel the story.
Right.
And I think that's one of the main differences. And, started thinking about this, but why didn't, of course the First Order would be looking for Synara, right? I mean,
well, they know who she is. I mean, because they've been working with the pirates up until now.
And so, she's obviously a threat to their plot, right? I mean, because she knows what the true story is, like what happened. So, I mean, I was sitting there thinking, maybe that's something that, I don't know, maybe it's just readily apparent, but I'm thick, or something. But they didn't really, I guess it put two and two together. So I'm not really revealing anything that hasn't been revealed, apparently.
Okay. So I loved the conversation that Kaz has with Synara because he's trying to broach this subject that he knows she's a pirate. And so he goes, how does he put it? He's like,
food.
So, Synara, I was looking to find you because I wanted to have a conversation about things. Yeah. What kind of things? Food. So he's like, so, the First Order doesn't like, I like food, but
and I think you're a dish.
Yeah, it's like, well, that's not quite what he said. But he gets around to saying, like, suppose that there's like some food on the station that was bad for you, but you really like that food, so it's in the best interest of that food get off the station. At which point she says, we're not really talking about food, are we? But I liked his attempt. It was easy to see through, obviously. Yeah. And so basically, this is when he tells her, like, I know you're one of the pirates, that you're working with the pirates, and you need to get off the station before the First Order finds you.
Plus, it doesn't help that after every sentence she says "yar."
Yeah, there is that. But she clearly, she knew that she was in danger on the station. But I take it that Kaz, at that moment, that's when she found out that the First Order was onto her, knew who she was, and was in fact looking for her at that moment on the station. And to your earlier point, why wouldn't they be? She's the one person that's on that station that
knows what happened.
That knows, she's got some sort of evidence, her testimony at the very least, that the First Order was working with the pirates. That could blow the whole thing up. So of course they'd want to get rid of her. But so anyways, they make this plan. They're gonna they're gonna put Synara in a crate, and then Kaz is going to haul her off to the shuttle bay. He's wearing a helmet that they found. And then she's going to sneak onto a shuttle, and Kaz and BB-8 are going to create a distraction, and then she'll be able to get off the station that way. She's going to go to Takodana, of all places. Which is a nice little tie-in. Of course, this doesn't work because BB-8 sets off an alarm on the shuttle that he's hacked.
That was funny. I liked that.
Right. And then...
His Kaz is like, BB-8, and BB's like, he's like, yes, I know there's an alarm. But before they even get to that point, Kaz is talking to Synara. He's like, there's no time for sensitive goodbyes. He's trying to be all suave. And she's like, sensitive goodbyes? What are you talking about? And he's like, nothing, because he's not comfortable revealing his feelings at this point. But your green dots. If you were food, you'd be so hot. Failed food pickup lines.
Right. But Synara, proves that she is a good person at heart, and she gives up her opportunity to escape on the shuttle, and she chases after the stormtroopers that are chasing Kaz and BB-8 and knocks them out so that Kaz can get away. But of course, this costs her opportunity to get off the station by the shuttles. Did you notice that they used that scene of when Kaz was running away from the stormtroopers? We had a shot of his feet running by the screen. Then you saw the stormtroopers. Then you saw Synara's feet run by. It was real quick.
I missed that.
But then later in the episode, you get, and we'll get to this in just a second, but Niku is running away from the stormtroopers, and you see his feet run by, then the stormtroopers, and then BB-8 at the bottom of his. That's
funny.
It's just these real quick little sequences. But if you watch the episode again, be on the lookout for them. I like the way that they use that motif, and they recycled it in the episode twice. But
it was almost like a Hanna-Barbera-esque kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like
except for they weren't going like in one door on one side of the hall, and then coming out the door on the other side of the hall, and doing the Scooby-Doo thing.
And they weren't the bongo sounds whenever they were starting to run in place or anything like that.
We didn't have a 70s or 60s pop song to go with. So having not been able to get her off the station with one of the shuttles, Kaz decides to turn to Niku because he knows the station like the back of his hand. And naturally, Niku is taking Kaz literally when he says this, and he's doing the whole thing. Well, I look at my hand, and I look at the hall, and I look at my hand, and I look at the hall, and I'm not seeing the similarity. And Kaz is finally starting to lose his patience.
Hall finger.
Niku, could you not be so literal? So they basically get to this understanding with Niku. It's like, she's in trouble. We need your help, and we need to sneak out. And he's still oblivious at this point. It's like, well, why would you sneak out? And then so Synara basically says, the First Order doesn't like me. And you were referencing this earlier.
Yeah.
He says, oh, I get it. My grandmother, my grand Nikto, I think is what he says, told me about how the Empire didn't like her. And so you've helped us, I will help you.
And I took that to be an alienist or species. What's the word for it? You know, basically she was trying to say, like, because I'm of this race or whatever, they don't like
she's
me.
not human?
Yeah.
Xenophobic?
Thank you. I think that's what she was trying to convey to him. You know what I mean? And because I was thinking about, that's kind of a subtle nod to the Xenistism.
Xenophobia?
Yeah, or something of the Empire, you know?
Yeah. You know, I think there might be something to that. I think it's also simply the fact that Nico's got a good heart. He's very loyal, but he's also very literal. And he's still caught up in this whole notion that he thinks that Kaz likes the First Order, Niku likes Kaz, so therefore Niku should like the First Order and doesn't get why anyone would be trying to escape from them. And he can't figure out why anyone would need to sneak off the base until they bring up this whole concept of escape. And he's trying to come up with all these options about, well, you could do this. Oh no, we can't do that. Or you could, no, that won't work. He's not even saying what the tactics are. Right. They're going through his mind and he can't come up with them until this notion of escape comes up. And he's like, oh, yeah, you could take the underwater escape pod and then you could sneak and escape at the same time.
Good idea.
So that's the plan. And, but unfortunately, the First Order is closing in. So Niku decides to create a diversion. So he opens a steam valve right into his own face. I don't think he planned that part. But he goes shrieking and running off. And Kaz sends BB-8 to help him, and then BB-8
of course, the
does.
First Order takes the bait.
Well, yeah, but
something's running after it. It's like a lab,
right? But you know, actually, I thought it was a fairly effective diversion just from the outside because, well, Kaz and Synara were hiding, and then the steam got set off, so they didn't get the chance to see anybody on their approach, and then there goes Niku running off, and so they followed, they followed the only thing that they knew was there. So BB-8 catches up to that pursuit, and right when Niku gets caught in the same quarter that Kaz and BB-8 got caught in earlier, which is blocked by a whole bunch of luggage, and then BB-8 uses his extinguisher to create some more cover for Niku to escape, and that works. But then we get to perhaps my favorite scene in the entire episode, the turbo lift scene. So once Niku and the stormtroopers are gone, Synara and Kaz get onto the turbo lift and they're standing there, and it's just the classic, like, you're on a really long elevator ride at your office building and it's just kind of this awkward silence and no one's talking and just looking around, and then the elevators open and I wish I could remember the name of that little yellow alien, but he shows up and starts complaining again that his buffer's been stolen.
and I love when the door opens, they both think it's their floor.
Yeah, and they start to rush off.
And they're like, oh, wait. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. And then, but the facial expressions they have through this whole thing, that's what made me crack up the most. You know what I mean? Because they were both thinking the same thing. You could see it in their eyes and their face,
Yeah. Well, again, it's the this episode did a really good job, I think, nailing Star Wars humor, or that appropriate level of humor for Star Wars. And in that same vein, an elevator scene is not something you necessarily would have seen in a lot of them. Well, I take it back. A New Hope had an elevator.
Yep, it sure did.
So, not quite as relatable to our everyday life, but it still had an elevator humor moment with Chewbacca and Han and Luke.
See, I get to the Assessor Collector super early. And so nobody else is typically on the elevator with me going up, and it doesn't stop at any floors because, of course, I go to the top floor. But I guess one of the things I like to do to pass the time is I stare at the security camera, unblinking, all the way up.
You do have a knack for making young people uncomfortable, don't you?
Sort of. It's a gift.
Right. But so they get off the turbo lift, and then they're at that level with the escape pods, and they find, I guess, the last one. They have a hard time getting the door open, so Kaz is trying to get it open, and Synara says, do you need help? And he's like, no, not really. And so she climbs in and pushes it the rest of the way open, and so they're saying their goodbyes. And Synara, tells him, thanks for everything, Kaz. My time here has opened my eyes to so many things, and he's trying to pull the door down. it falls on his head. This episode had the most laugh out loud moments for me of the episode so far. And I really enjoyed that. And it was just the comedic timing, I think, went a long way on this. It wasn't just the bizarre humor that didn't just come out of nowhere. It was well written. And I really enjoyed that. Kaz is trying to be smooth and be brave, and then all of a sudden the door falls on his head, and that just was perfect. But
I'm going to go back and see who wrote this one. You know what I mean? I looked, and it didn't stand out to me as a name I recognized. But I was also watching it on my phone when I was trying to find that, so who knows? But so Synara makes it out in the escape pod. The pod goes by one of those giant sea creatures from the Bebo episode. And then when she emerges, Kragan and a couple of the other pirates are on one of the skiffs, and they pick her up, and Kragan says, welcome home, and Synara says, she's more ready than ever to come home. So what do you think? Do you think she's just going to go back to her pirate ways, or do you think she's going to do something different? Is she going to be kind of help the resistance in some fashion, or what is she going to do next? Yeah, I think she's kind of a survivor. I think she's going to, of course, be piratey, or at least affiliate with them just to survive, But yeah, I mean, we haven't seen the last of her. She'll come back, and I think she's had a significant character development. I think to where she's going to be, she'll end up helping the resistance. Maybe she'll end up forming some sort of alliance between the pirates and the resistance or something. Sort of like we saw with Hondo and Akka. Helping out.
Yeah. I think you're onto something there. I don't think she's going to be an eager participant in any more raids on the Colossus station, and not that they're really going to have that opportunity, or maybe they will. I'm not certain, but I think when it's all said and done, we kind of know what's coming from that mid-season trailer, that the First Order is going to take over. They're going to start arresting people. We know that we're going to get to the events of The Force Awakens, and I would not be surprised if that's where she comes back in to the story and helps out the people on Colossus with escape, or trying to retake the station, or fight back against the First Order somehow. That line about having her eyes open to so many things, that seemed very sincere to me.
Yeah, me too.
I was a little thrown by the, she's more ready than ever to come home. And I couldn't tell if that was just relief for getting off of the Colossus station when it was under the control of the stormtroopers, or,
a double meeting.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have a hard time seeing her go. I mean, that will feel like a betrayal if she goes back to working with the pirates actively against the people on the Colossus station.
She could have meant like more ready than ever to come home. Like maybe she betrayed who she once was by doing all this piracy stuff, or you know what I mean?
That's a good point.
Maybe
I like that thought.
Maybe she's more speaking of her own character.
Yeah. No, I like that thought. And maybe that we'll get some sort of a backstory on her earlier life before she was a pirate.
Yeah.
As part of the resolution of this thread. So
I'd buy that for a credit.
I'd buy that.
There you go. So let's go ahead and do our wrap up here and our final grades. So what are your final thoughts, and what did you think?
Best flowing comedic episode with action. Thought the big creature at the end was very Star Wars feeling. All in all, they really, really got it. They made this feel like Star Wars, and again, it's not like focused. I didn't feel like this was focused to one particular, demographic or group or anything like that. You know what I mean? It was just a good story, a fun story, and I'm gonna give it I'm gonna give it an A, straight A.
I'm with you. I really felt like Resistance found its stride last week and this week. With these episodes, and there's still the humor probably hits the if there's that line about what you would expect out of Star Wars humor, it probably still strays a little bit towards the slapstick and the really goofy type thing, but it's within the realm of what I would expect for Star Wars. Sure. And as you just said, the comedic timing and pacing in this episode was spot on for me. I really liked the world building they did with the reaction to the First Order being on the station.
Yes.
It was funny seeing them confiscate the floor buffer.
Yeah.
But the but arresting the Godel for being out after curfew, harassing the Rhodian for not having his identification promptly right there, tracking down Kaz and interrogating him for potentially being a spy, but still being distracted. They came off very much as what you'd expect from stormtroopers.
Right.
So this episode very much had a Star Wars feel. It reminded me just kind of a little bit of, scenes at the beginning of Jeddah before all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
And what you would have kind of expected, like on Mos Eisley, when the stormtroopers were wandering around looking for Luke and the droids.
Yep.
So really well done in capturing that Star Wars feel. So I'm with you. I'm going to give this a straight A. Awesome. It was good episode. Really looking forward to where this episode is going. I went from, with these past couple, this episode, the last episode, I went from being Resistance just as kind of like, I'm keeping track of, because I'm a Star Wars fan, this might go somewhere. Well, I'm actually looking forward to the next episode now.
Yeah, me too.
It's kind of caught my trust.
It's shifted gears from,
Yeah, so it's a good pivot for it. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for our discussion of the First Order occupation. Before we go, what do you got going on this week that all of our Scoundrels can look forward to?
Geek Supreme's still out for scheduling and such, so we'll be back the week after. And
So you, Scott Murray, Jeff McGee, or Jay Davis are going to be gone for just a little bit longer. But we'll look forward.
That's what I meant. Yes.
We'll look forward to you in the next few weeks. As for Jay, you can find her archive blogs and Core World Couture columns over on Coffee with Kenobi. And also check out our Instagram account. She posted her denim jacket project with a whole bunch of patches from fan organizations on it, and that's pretty cool.
Man, we need to make an S3 patch.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. Maybe something for celebration, perhaps. But as for me, you can find my comic reviews over on RetroZap.com, and each month I'm talking Star Wars comics with Jovial J. Shepard on Jedi Journals. With the return of Discovery, my wife and I have revived Warp Trails, and we've covered the first 3 episodes so far, and you can find all of those on the RetroZap podcast feed. If you want to find us, we are on social media at SQPod on Twitter and Instagram, and on Facebook at facebook.com/SQPod. You can email us at sqpod@retrozap.com. You can follow Darth Taxus on Twitter at Darth Taxus. Jay is at Joyce Krebs, and I am at DJKVER2. Speaking of RetroZap, we are, of course, part of the RetroZap.com podcast network. The network currently features more than a dozen shows covering everything from retro gaming and movies to the Animaniacs, collecting, Dune, Game of Thrones, and of course, a ton of Star Wars. You can subscribe to the network feed and you'll get them all in one place. That's going to do it for this Scoundrel Special Edition. We'll talk to you all soon with another edition of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. Until then, may the Force be with you.
Man, I totally forgot to say that the elevator music had elevator was.
Yeah, I did.
That was so great. That was so great.
Whoa! Oh, sorry. What's wrong? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm sure you'll get it back soon enough.